Today on the Big 3 in 30, Purdue avoids another loss and beats Northwestern.
I don't even know where to start with last night.
Wisconsin blows out Maryland in another Big Ten battle.
That's one of the coolest moments I've seen all year.
And we remember Coach Lou Holtz.
Holtz will go down as arguably the greatest coach in the history of Notre Dame football.
This is the Big 3 in 30 College, the three biggest stories on campus from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The Big 3 in 30 College starts now. Thank you for making the Big 3 in 30 your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. CJ Cox scored 27 points for Purdue as the Boilermakers avoided an upset against Northwestern yesterday. Nick Garvin has the recap of the win on Locked On Boilermakers.
I don't even know where to start with last night. It was one of the most insane games, and not for good reasons. It's not because Purdue played exceptionally well. In fact, I would say that Purdue played pretty poorly outside of one or two guys last night. But ultimately, when you have 27 points from CJ Cox, you're going to win more games than not. Although it was against a Northwestern team that is sub 500, he made every big shot, every key play down the stretch of this game. When the seniors needed to rely on him, he showed up. And those seniors need to write CJ Cox a thank you letter. They need to buy him a present. I don't know what they need to do, but CJ Cox might have just saved Purdue's season last night with 27 points. And this is a game that the Boilermakers trailed for a large majority of the game. They were down by 9 points at halftime. It was one of the worst performances I've seen all season long, maybe in his Purdue career. It's got to be one of the worst games Braden Smith has ever had. Also had 9 assists, but the turnovers were really rough there. Almost gave Northwestern the game there at the end. But when it matters, CJ Cox made every three down the stretch. Every three he made, it was either 4 or 5 down there at the end of the game. They all gave Purdue the lead. So let's get into this game a little bit so you guys can understand. I'm sure you all watched it just as I did, watch the horror unfold in front of your eyes as it looked like Purdue was going to lose one of the worst possible games they could have lost on the year. It would have been incredibly embarrassing. Purdue, they trailed practically this whole game, and it's because the seniors didn't show up in this one. Braden Smith, he was really poor. As I said, finishes off this game with 7 points, didn't have any points until halfway into the second half. 5 of his points came at the free throw line. Does get out of here with 9 assists. But when you talk about Braden Smith, and that's going to be the big storyline out of this one, alongside CJ Cox, he was getting doubled to start out this game and just couldn't find out how to break that. I don't know if he just hasn't seen that this year. It was a unique look that Northwestern was giving out. It was just concerning that Northwestern was playing so much harder than Purdue was to start out this game. This is a Wildcats team that has zero shot unless they make a miracle run in the Big Ten tournament at getting an at-large bid in March Madness. So this is a team with practically nothing to play for at this point in the year, except for beating Purdue on their home floor on senior day. And that's what they almost did. Purdue starts out so slow in this game. And I got to a point in this one where I almost wanted to turn the game off. I've seen it so many times with this team this year. They'll get down at halftime to not even good teams. We saw this against Ohio State. Ohio State is definitely a better team than Northwestern, but you get down at the half and you just can't come back. So the fact that Purdue does come back in this game, is it a little bit of a silver lining? I guess, but it's still concerning the way that this one played out and the way that Purdue had zero fight. Northwestern completely outmatched Purdue in terms of energy to start out this game. And I was left thinking, is there something going on in the locker room? I know that's been thrown around by various different sources throughout the past couple of weeks as Purdue has really struggled. I don't know if there's anything to that, but these guys certainly don't appear to be having fun out there, or at least they didn't in the first half. They trail by 9 at halftime, come out in the second half, and they start to get into a little bit of a flow, certainly on the boards. That was really big for Purdue in the second half as they started to get more second chance opportunities. But when it mattered, CJ Cox took over this game. He made 3 after 3 after 3. And let's talk about CJ Cox for a second. Outside of a Purdue victory, which they did sneak out in this game right down to the wire because of those timely threes, Braden Smith does actually make a couple key free throws there to seal the victory. CJ Cox this year has been a guy that he's shown flashes, no doubt about it. He's in the starting lineup for a reason, but on a low volume, he's a low volume type guy where he's not going to shoot a ton of shots. When he makes them, it provides a lot for you. But in a game like this, where Braden Smith can't get it going, where the rest of your guys are just really struggling to shoot the ball well, Fletcher Lawyer, 2 of 6 from three-point range, only had 10 points. The fact that you have CJ Cox in this game, and he shoots the ball 13 times, 4 times more than anybody else on the floor. He's able to make 10 of those, 27 points. That's something that he can provide. You might be able to use that going into the Big Ten tournament. Now, there are a lot of different concerns surrounding this team right now, and I feel like this game against Northwestern really showcased a lot of that off. But that's what we've been asking this Purdue team to find outside of these seniors who need to show up. One more guy, one more role player, if that's what you want to call CJ, someone off the bench or CJ or Nasser Clough to really show up and provide some value outside of just those 3 guys. That's what this team has needed to take it to the next level. And we see in the second half that when you rely on CJ Cox, when you trust him to make shots, he can do it for you. CJ is one of the most confident basketball players you're going to find in just his sophomore year. I see him clicking right now with this team. And I know I say this, and I know it's tough to be optimistic when you see a result like this. Yes, it's a win, but a game where Purdue was really outplayed for a good majority of the game. It's hard to find silver linings, but that's what I'm going to try to do. We still have season left to play. With a win over Northwestern, Purdue is in a really good spot, which we'll talk about when we get to the Big Ten bracket and the bracketology. But Purdue is still in a really good spot to make a run. And you hear all the talk. You hear what Braden Smith says, posting an Allen Iverson photo, which that's a conversation for another day. We already got to that. But you see all these different things, all the different narratives surrounding this Purdue team, that they're going to get upset in the first round, that they're not going to make it farther. This team has no possibility of making a run in March. Everything is still in front of this team. As much as they've struggled, as much as they've lost as of late, if you have CJ Cox and if he's able to provide good production for you alongside the defense, the best defender on the floor where you needed him for that tonight as well. Braden Smith wasn't playing good defense. Fletcher Lawyer wasn't playing good defense. The bigs definitely struggled at times guarding their stretch big. When you have CJ on the defensive side and he can provide offense for you, you don't even need 27 points for him. But if he can give you 10 or 15 on any given night, that's a formula for success for this Boilermaker squad. Everything is still in front of this team, and that's the bottom line. I don't care about results. I don't care what's happened to this point. It's 0-0 right now. After you get past Wisconsin, it's 0-0, a fresh start. If you have CJ Cox, he's able to produce for you alongside these seniors. You can consistently have 4 different guys in double figures. This is a team that still has upside. Once again, I'm going to state this so no one gets on me on the comments. And if you do, you do. This was not a pretty victory by any stretch of the imagination. It's one that I thought Purdue was going to lose until CJ went on a hot streak. But what he did was he removed this team from the scenario of just being in a disastrous situation. He removed the embarrassment from this team. It's a renewed season now. And I know saying that is crazy after a 4-point win over Northwestern, but the season starts fresh right now. It goes into Wisconsin on Saturday, senior day at Mackey Arena. You're 0-0, a fresh start for Purdue. A win over Northwestern allows you to be in that spot.
Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Not only can your pick cash, but you could also go to the NBA Finals along with it. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Welcome back to the Big 3 and 30 College. Wisconsin blew out Maryland last night with Braden Carrington leading the way off the bench. Locked On Badgers host Ryan Herrings breaks down the win.
I want to start here, Mike. I think one of the coolest moments of the season, we're going to get into Nolan Winter. We're going to get into Nick Boyd and this game and what it means. But seeing Isaac Gard, like, I'm a dad. I got 2 kids. I got 2 boys. And just seeing the moment where Isaac Gard hits the 3, comes off, hugs his dad, Greg's in borderline tears, the crowd's going nuts. As a dad, that's one of the coolest moments I've seen all year. I loved it. I thought it was tremendous. I was so happy for them. And by the way, he hits the 3 on like a deep pump fake, like unbelievable moment, man. And I just loved it for everything. It's everything sports should be about. It's everything dads and sons should be about. It was a tremendous moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just kind of showed that for the Gard family, basketball is a family business, right? So, and I mean, it's senior night. They're dominating Maryland in the Kohl Center. The place erupted after he hit that 3. And like you said, it's contested well behind the arc, right in front of the bench, right in front of his dad. And then it walks off, gets the hug. Greg Gard's in tears. Isaac even gives a little pump to the crowd as he's walking off the floor. I mean, that's sports kind of all wrapped up into one moment right there. So it was wonderful to watch that.
And how many times has Greg been rebounding for Isaac? How many times have they just shot around? It's just unbelievable. Like, I love the moment. And the first time down the court, they actually ran kind of a stagger action for him. They were trying to get him a shot. I just love that moment. And honestly, this would be maybe my favorite game of the year, outside of the Michigan game and the Michigan State game and the Illinois game. If it wasn't for the Nolan Winter injury, I loved everything about Boyd getting the ovation coming off, Braden Carrington getting the ovation, Gard hitting that shot. It was
really got a standing O coming off. I mean,
it was just tremendous. Let's do game balls. Let's start there. Who's your game ball today?
Yeah, so my game ball's going to Isaac Gard, 4 years playing at UW. 4 Gard hit that shot right in front of his dad. I mean, the whole team was in on that. So the set you just talked about when he first came on, the whole team was in on that set. Nobody was sitting on the bench. Assistant coaches, the starters, they were all up. And of course he rimmed it, but whatever. He comes back and gets the next one. So game ball's going to Isaac Gard. He deserves it. He's been grinding on that practice squad for 4 years. So give him his moment, and there's your game ball. But
yeah, those guys are important for the team too. The culture, the people on the bench, those are the people that are in there every day in practice and every film study and every lift, in every shoot around. If you're surrounded by people who have bad attitudes and are bad culture guys, it hurts. So having guys on the bench, Greppy's another one, Robeson, guys who don't play a lot but are good culture guys, Kinzinger's another one. Greg Gard builds a good culture. He generally gets teams full of good kids. And his as well, apparently. Obviously Isaac as well. So it was just a tremendous moment. My game ball's going to Braden Carrington, who continues to hit YOLO shots. It's unbelievable, man. He coming off the last game where he shot 15 threes, he hit 9 of them. I texted to my buddy, I'm like, who is this guy coming off the bench taking 15 threes? And today, the thing is, people know, like, if you play enough hoops or anything you do in life, if you do enough of it, you get in routines and habits, right? People know he takes deep shots, but they're so deep that people are still hesitant to contest him because there's no way this dude is going to shoot this. He's been unbelievable, man. What did he get today? 6 threes, 6 of 10, 4 of 8. Sorry, 6 of 10 from the field.
4 of 8 from 3. Yeah,
unbelievable this year for Braden Carrington as a shooter. I mean, he's developed into one of the best shooters in the Big Ten, and as a guy who was brought in from the portal as kind of a late, we think he can help us a little bit addition. He's become one of the best 3-and-D players in the Big Ten. Just a tremendous player, tremendous season. Awesome to see him get that standing O. Braden Carrington just continues to do Braden Carrington things, Mike.
Yeah, he's shooting from well behind the arc to the point where defenses aren't even considering him a threat at that range. So I think that'll change here moving into postseason play. We'll see. I know the scouting reports get a little tight. How would you say, a little tighter look over going into tournament play. And plus you're playing the, top 64 teams, right? So, we'll see if they start challenging him out further beyond that arc there. But yeah, I mean, total 18 points, 24 minutes, 2 of 2 from the line, 2 rebounds. Braden Carrington can't beat those numbers. Still coming off the bench, which I didn't see the start of the game. Did he come off? He came off the bench, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, you still got that fire coming off the bench, which don't want to get into this just yet. He might be moving at this point, so who knows? I guess you're gonna have to put Rapp. I don't know, Bialuskas. We'll talk about that, I guess, a little bit later when you want to. But also Rapp, by the way, let's see, Rapp's 11 points on 17 minutes. Good contribution there. I saw him at like 2 threes in a row or something like that, kind of to start pulling away. So Rapp had a good game put together there. Kins with a couple nice assists down inside the paint. Kind of snuck some balls in there. So just a couple of things I'm spitting off the top of my head. But Blackwell, 14 points on 27 minutes. Not a bad showing.
I liked how he started. Yeah, I liked how JB started. Started aggressive, got in the paint a couple times, hit a 3 in transition, hit a little fadeaway baseline turnaround shot, which we've been begging for mid-range stuff. Like, he's so good, man. Blackwell is so good, and when he's aggressive getting in the paint, I think it opens up everything in his game, but everyone else's game. I thought he played well. I love your point on Kins. I think, and I've said it from the jump, whether or not he ended up getting much time this year, which obviously he didn't, I think he has a feel for the game. You can see it. He has a really nice ability to get in the paint and pass. He had a steal, had a layup. I think he's going to play for you next year. I thought Garlock had a couple moments, a couple big rebounds, had a block, tried to stuff one at the end. I liked how he played. Just overall, I think just about everybody played pretty well. And Boyd, to me, it kind of just felt like he let the game come to him and everyone else. He didn't force anything, which I thought was nice too. It was a great game all around. To your point, we're gonna talk about the elephant in the room. That's gonna be the next segment. But I think there's so much good to celebrate about tonight with Guard, with the standing ovations for several players. That let's stay there. Bit of a slow start, but after that, the game was fully in control. Anybody else you wanted to talk about today? Because I got one more I'm going to throw out there.
Let me take a look. Rhodey putting up 28 minutes. I mean, the depth chart here, he emptied the bench at a point in time there. But Will Hanna with the comment, Garlock blocking the shot. How many blocks did we have today? Winter had a few. Garlock had one. I think there's a couple more. But
yep.
No, we'll go into what was your honorable mention there at the end?
Yeah, it's more of a team thing. And I want to point out with the caveat, Maryland's really bad. No hyperbole. Right. That is a rough team. And my goodness, how far that program has fallen from what Maryland traditionally has been. But I thought the defense, it's more of a team thing. I thought the defense played really well today. They were a lot of loose balls they got to. They kept people in front of them. They contested shots. Again, it's easier when you're playing a Maryland team that they just aren't very good. I mean, they are some of their own worst enemies, but I thought the defense played hard nonetheless. So the Badgers went on a run. I think the defense keyed that. So I want to give credit there. They definitely locked in at about 5 minutes left in the first half. And from that point on, Maryland just couldn't get anything going. So I thought the defense played well, and we hit a lot of the players.
Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Not only can your pick cash, but you could also go to the NBA Finals along with it. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Welcome back to the Big 3 and 30 College. Notre Dame legend Lou Holtz passed away Wednesday at the age of 89. Locked On Irish remembers the national champion and coaching legend.
On Thursday, we received the news that legendary Notre Dame head coach Lou Holtz passed away peacefully in his home at the age of 89. Holtz will go down as arguably the greatest coach in the history of Notre Dame football, and he is one of the true legends in the sport of college football. For today, I called in my good friend and former co-host Luke Smith to take some time to honor Lou's life and legacy, reflect on what he meant to the Notre Dame football program, and reminisce about some of the greatest moments from his incredible career. Enjoy. All right, on a day like today, it's only right to bring in Luke Smith, because if we're going to talk about a historic person in Notre Dame football, we need the best Notre Dame football historian under the age of 30. And he joins us now. Obviously, neither of us were really alive to see the peak of the Lou Holtz era, but actually, wait. The only season he coached while I was alive was the final season back in 1996. But even though we didn't grow up watching those teams, I think his impact on Notre Dame football still shaped the program and the fan base that we grew up loving. So let's start here. What will you remember most about Lou Holtz?
I think just how much he extended across different generations. You talk about him as a coach, obviously the last coach at this point in time to lead Notre Dame to a national championship, but then the fact that he was really able to extend his stint in the public eye through 2 decades on ESPN. And even when you go back to, I remember when I was young, him having that little stint at South Carolina where he kind of rejuvenated their program for a little bit too. And I think that ability to just be such a central figure in this crazy television show that we call college football, he was beloved. And I think that was pretty unique, considering that there haven't been a lot of people from Notre Dame, or Notre Dame in general isn't beloved. It's either you love it like the fans do or you hate it. But it seemed like even long after his career, and he was completely unabashed about his love for Notre Dame, he was able to endear himself to a lot of fans across college football. And I think that's why you saw him remain in the public eye for as long as he did.
Right. Even though we didn't get to watch him coach Notre Dame on the sidelines, we still saw that love he had for the university and the football program on our televisions every Saturday during the fall throughout our childhood. I mean, college football final with him, Reese Davis, and Mark May. As much as I hated Mark May, that was excellent television. And you could make the case that had a ton of influence on college football coverage years after, I guess, he signed off on television, because now so much of modern sports television is debate. And when they would do the final verdict with Reese Davis dressed up like a judge, and then Mark May and Lou Holtz arguing against one another, and so oftentimes it was about Notre Dame, like that was very influential. And I think we see that all the time. And that's kind of when I learned, even though I hated everything that Mark May had to say, it was like appointment viewing. And you see that with so many sports media personalities today. So I'm glad that even though we didn't get to watch him, we still got to experience Lou Holtz. And then even after he was on television, he was coming to games whenever they'd announce him into the stadium. The crowd would always go wild. So it's just really impressive and just amazing how one person could have such a lasting legacy, not just at one school, but multiple schools and in an entire sport.
No doubt. And I mean, you even saw it this past year down in Arkansas. Obviously, they still feel very fondly about him. I think maybe the only group he touched that doesn't is the Jets, but that's I don't think anybody that had to work with the Jets has nothing to apologize for. But as we talk through it, I think the thing that also sticks out the most is just the word reverence comes to mind for Notre Dame. He just spoke so reverently about his love for the place and Our Lady and everything about Notre Dame, and talking about how since he was a young boy in Catholic grade school singing the fight song. I mean, it seemed like it truly was a dream job for him his entire life. And when he got it, he made the most of it for that decade plus that he was in command in South Bend, really bringing Notre Dame back to a place they hadn't been to in quite some time.
And I think he brought so many people into the Notre Dame fan base, and not saying that they were bandwagon fans. It was probably people, they liked Notre Dame. They enjoyed rooting for them. Maybe they went to school there, or they were just Irish Catholic families in the United States. But when Lou was the coach there, the amount of attention that he brought to the school and the football program, in large part due to the success that they had on the field, really changed the course of the football program forever. Like, I put this on Twitter earlier today. I don't think I would have grown up a Notre Dame fan if Lou Holtz had not been that coach at Notre Dame, because the reason I'm a Notre Dame fan is because my dad grew up loving them, and then his brother, my uncle, grew up loving them, and my grandpa, who didn't really have a tie to Notre Dame, just grew up loving football in Northeast Ohio. Like, they all collectively really bought into Notre Dame football at a young age, but specifically during the Lou Holtz era. And that's when they were all in. It was obviously a great time to be a Notre Dame fan from 1988 through 1993. And even in the years after that, when things started to go a little bit downhill, that era of Notre Dame football was so important to them, and then they passed that down to me. And I just feel like there's so many other stories out there where it's people like you and me who didn't get to watch him, but we still hear about the Lou Holtz era all the time. The stories, the players like Rocket Ismail, Tony Rice, all that stuff. And then that carries down for generations, and you just don't see that very often, especially when it just really comes from one individual as the head coach.
That's a pretty interesting point, and not one that I thought of before, but I guess in a lot of ways that could even apply to me, because Lou Holtz's first year at Notre Dame was my parents' first year of law school in South Bend. And of course, their last year of law school, then that means that was his third year where he won a national title. And my dad coming from Virginia, my mom coming from Fordham, if the football team just continued down the same pathway that they had been on under Jerry Faust. I mean, my dad was a huge UVA basketball fan. I don't know that without that success that they experienced in the Heisman in year two of their law school career, did they develop the same rabidness around Notre Dame football without Lou Holtz as the head of the program? And does that then get distilled down to me? Probably, but I don't know that definitively, because he obviously rejuvenated the place after a bit of a just like sleeping in the desert for a little bit. And if my parents don't have that experience with Lou leading the charge, maybe things do look a little bit differently. And maybe I don't have a mental illness today, but that's another conversation for another time.
I mean, what he was able to do with that program in such a short amount of time is unbelievable. We've all heard about Notre Dame coaches in their third year and how it's such a crucial year, and it usually is indicative in regard to what they're going to do during their time as a Notre Dame head coach. But the years before Lou Holtz was there, it was not good. Like, he joins the staff in 1986. They go 5-6 his first year. In 1987, they go 8-4, but they have Tim Brown. He wins the Heisman Trophy, and then 88, they win the national championship, and that's the beginning of this incredible run that they go on, the winning streak into 89 and all that. But you go back to 85, they went 5-6, 7-5 the year before that. The last time they had double-digit wins prior to Lou Holtz was in 1977 when they won the national championship. So they went a really long time where the program was just down. And obviously there were points during the Faust era when they had those great recruiting classes where there was some optimism. But, you know, when we think back on Notre Dame history, obviously it's associated with a lot of success, but there was a real down period there. And then when Lou Holtz was able to bring the program back, it wasn't just the success that they had on the field. It was, like you said, Lou's reverence and everything that he did for the university. I think it just attracted so many more fans than any other coach had done previously.
Yeah, and let's be honest, I think that's something that really Notre Dame fans have been waiting for since he left. And in a lot of ways, they feel like they've now gotten it again in Marcus Freeman. And of course, in Freeman's tenure at Notre Dame, he made a very concerted effort to strike up a relationship with Lou Holtz. I think much unlike his predecessor, Brian Kelly, who I don't know ever really made much of an effort to get to Lou. And I think Lou may have even said as much towards the end of his life around that sort of thing. But this is the kind of thing that Notre Dame fans have been waiting for since he retired from Notre Dame in 1996. And they finally got it some 25 odd years later. And I think that now that we're able to kind of live through this and see what that's like, it helps shed even a little bit more perspective on what this must have been like when he was at the peak of his powers.
I have never seen someone, certainly not the head coach of Notre Dame, be so beloved during my lifetime as Marcus Freeman. And I feel like the way that so many of us feel about Freeman and what he's been able to do for the football program in such a short amount of time is how, you know, our parents and people in previous generations felt about Lou Holtz, which is why I think there is so much optimism about Freeman and why there's been so much buy-in from the university. Because look, if you're getting that NIL money, where's it coming from? It's from some people who literally played for Lou Holtz, I think is what we're getting with the Shields Hall there. And then you've got Eilers, who played for Lou Holtz, and he's very important to the NIL operation. Like, it really all stems back to Lou Holtz, and now Marcus Freeman is able to sort of lift it up and bring so much of what people loved during the Holtz era back to the Notre Dame football program.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that obviously Notre Dame's always had a rabid fan base, but without his tenure, I don't know that you have the same level of buy-in that you do today.
That's all for the Big 3 and 30 college. If you follow pro basketball or football, the Big 3 and 30 has shows for the biggest news in the NBA and NFL going up every weekday just like this one. Just search the Big 3 and 30 NBA or the Big 3 and 30 NFL wherever you're listening or watching now. Thanks again for tuning into the Big 3 and 30 college.